Ladies and gentlemen, the Twitter files showed us that the U.S. government, the Democratic Party, joined forces with Twitter to silence debate discussion about corruption within the Democratic Party, Hunter's laptop. This is a huge, huge development today. About an hour ago, the independent Trump-appointed judge blocks Biden agencies from communicating with social media platforms. Why would the DOJ and this current administration communicate with these platforms? To silence and censor debate and discussion, dialogue, and discourse. Anything that's illegal or immoral or corrupt or a huge national security or cybersecurity risk within the Democratic Party, we learned 2 years ago, actually 7 years ago, 6 years ago, is a plot by another country to inform you that Bernie Sanders was cheated, that Hunter has a laptop full of felonies, all of these things. Anything bad about the Democratic Party is a national security plot by an adversary, a foreign adversary, to inform you of how corrupt Democrats are. You would have to be a complete and utter fool, a disingenuous, gullible, naive imbecile to believe any of this absurd public relations spin. But a lot of people out there who choose the Democratic Party believe this nonsense because it caters to their biases. The Hill, federal judge limits Biden administration contact with social media platforms. The judge in Florida, the Trump-appointed judge, did a very good thing. The judge in New York should do this. Judges everywhere should do this because Democrats not only leak information through the DOJ, but they prevent discussion, dialogue, discourse, debate. They ban discussion. And the interesting thing is, hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is huge. Absolutely huge. The interesting thing is, a lot of the disingenuous arguments from many political pundits on the left, or wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats, even channels on this platform, they'll say, "Oh, I'm against banning books. I'm not for censorship." And it's like, okay, there's a difference between preventing people of a certain age from reading certain types of literature or seeing certain types of pictures, and preventing the American public from looking at, understanding the pay-to-play and bribery schemes within Hunter's laptop. Is there a problem with logic, basic logic and critical thinking skills for some human beings on this planet? Yes, there is. The issue here is that the Trump judge just gave a huge boost to Trump in 2024. They have no case in New York, any conviction, and there'll probably be a conviction because it's Tammany Hall. They despise it. It has nothing to do with the rule of law. Any conviction will be overturned by the Supreme Court. The FEC didn't. The Supreme Court will look at if it's constitutional to go after Trump in Manhattan for a federal crime. It is not. A federal crime that didn't exist. The DOJ would have to go after Trump. The federal government would have had to go after Trump for the hush money payment, not Tammany Hall in New York. So it is not constitutional. It's obviously just an attempt at trying to knock him out of 24. And furthermore, it wasn't even his money. They would have to prove that it was his money. It wasn't his money. It was Michael Cohen's money, and Michael Cohen had a company that he started, and then he's a convicted felon. So there you go with the credibility. They always say, like, oh, that's credible. The most hilarious phrase, in addition to other phrases used by Democrats the past 7 years, oh, that's credible testimony. This is a credible person. Credibility is linked to whether it helps the political party or not. Oh, that's... So a Republican was accused? Oh, that's a credible accusation. A Democrat was accused? Not so credible. So credibility is a subjective term, of course. But anyway, oftentimes, almost always a subjective term. But here, it always was acknowledged that a convicted felon doesn't have much credibility. So you're going to have a convicted felon against Trump. in addition to a woman who, let's say an actress who signed statements saying that her relationship never happened. So, I mean, they're going to have to prove the relationship happened. I do think the relationship did happen, but it was more of a business transaction than anything else. With the classified data issue, it's not Trump that has to prove that he declassified. He's a president, okay? 20 million emails were lost, and the National Archives had no access to them in the Bush years. So spare me the nonsense. I just did a segment on that yesterday. When CNN and others say it's not true, the National Archives were best friends with every president but Trump. Oh my God. The National Archives did not have the communication between Clinton and President Obama. President Obama did communicate with Clinton's servers. Politico and others talked about that. I wrote a Daily Caller article on that, and that's one of Clinton's top officials said, yeah, the president knows. We communicated with him. Gee, you think maybe a president will communicate with his Secretary of State? You think maybe that happens? So President Obama's administration had the highest level diplomat with a secret private server. If Trump had that server, they would accuse him of selling every secret to finance a hotel on Mars. Okay, and people would believe it. And then there would be an Atlantic article, I live in Mars, or the Rolling Stone, or Esquire, or Vanity Fair, or whatever. They would just say, okay, people, Washington Post, people close to the matter say that Trump has a hotel on Mars financed by sales of classified data through his private servers, which is what Clinton had. Oh, by the way, the RNC had a server in Bush administration Oval Office also. Gee, maybe the National Archives didn't have that information too. The National Archives is like, these people are like hall monitors. They're government hall monitors. Oh yeah, do you have a hall pass? So they're going after Trump in a manner they would never go after. The most hilarious aspect of all of this is they say, well, all of these government agencies are independent. Like, for example, when President Obama's administration allowed 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to be sold to a company that eventually sold the capacity to our mortal adversaries, okay, the Kremlin. And so the rebuttal is, do you think 17 agencies would sign off on it? Yes, I do. What do you think would happen to one of the agencies who said, nah, that's not good? The head of the agency would be immediately replaced and fired. These are bureaucracies. So you can hide behind the bureaucracy and say they're all independent. Like, for example, when Tim Pool debated that liberal pundit, and she said, this association, that association, this organization, this unified group of experts, you can find all of those, the same government agencies, the same agencies within that field, the same organizations within that field in Scandinavian countries that completely disagree on a very contentious topic pertaining to a subject matter that is, always hotly contested. And so it's just, there's so many logical fallacies they use. But anyway, the side that actually does censor is the Democratic Party. Said they wanted a ministry of a ministry of information, basically. They want, what did they want? I forgot, but it's basically George Orwell's Ministry of Information, okay? It was the definition of Orwellian. Ministry of Truth. Okay, they wanted their own Ministry of Truth. Okay, because information that misinforms, another stupid euphemism or phrase that they use. Information that misinforms is essentially anything that a whole bunch of experts that agree with the Democratic Party disagree with. But what about the experts that disagree with the experts that agree with the Democratic Party? Oh, those are bad people. They should never have been born, and they're very bad people. So it's a fabricated consensus. Anyway, you can't, they won't be, social media algorithms won't be able to censor things anymore. Big, huge step for Trump and for America. Give me your thoughts below. Happy July 4th. I can't believe I didn't tell you until happy July 4th. Have a safe and happy July 4th. Get a designated driver. Have a safe and happy July 4th.